sponsored by the Kerala State Higher Education Council. Yesterday's session, we had a very educative and informative session by Dr. Richa Verma. Ma'am, may I invite you to continue enriching us on this topic assessment in OBE.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me again today. So, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Today, we are going to have two sessions on assessment. And interestingly, before we got onto these workshop, I did have a question from your organizers where participants wanted to know, am I going to assess them or not? So that's an interesting point. I would like to do some assessment, but let's see how we go. To a larger extent, sorry, I'm just in this morning session as well as the afternoon session, I would like you to, at the end of these two sessions, you should be able to classify and describe different types of assessments, develop assessment plan, and the last bit we are going to design rubrics, or rather look into how do we design rubrics for various subjective assessment. I also received feedback from yesterday's session, and thanks for sharing that feedback. There were a couple of people who thought I was going a bit fast. And if that's the case, I would request you to stop me where you think, I've gone too fast, because only when you give this feedback to me then and there, then I could revisit that topic and go at a slower pace. There were also a couple of people who thought I was going slow. So if that's the case, then, we have a bigger crowd here, around 200 people. I do need to cater for everyone. So if you think I'm a bit slow, let me know. And if majority of people are thinking that way, then I will alter it. But at the same time, being fast and people not able to grasp what I'm saying is more important to address here. And hence, I would really appreciate if you could stop me in between and ask questions, because at the end of the day, it's your learning, you are going to benefit, and your feedback is truly important, more during the session rather than later on, because once I'm gone, I can't do anything about it. So wish you all a very good morning once again who have just joined, and let's get started with it. So this is something like a recap what we spoke yesterday. If a few of you could just type and let me know what is the role of assessment in outcome-based education and what is your understanding about this. And once again, I will just wait for a minute. Also at this, I would also ask the moderator to let me know if there is any problem with the audio, because looks like yesterday my internet connection was going a little up and down. So in that case, I could repeat what I have said.
It's fine, ma'am. Until now, everything is clear.
Yep. And the other option is, I can always switch off my video. So that will help the streaming.
It's not needed, I think. Like, we can hear you very well.
Just let me know whenever it is.
Okay.
So I will go to the participants and ask, let me know what's the role of assessment in outcome-based education. Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Actually, the role of assessment is to understand whether the learner achieved the goals.
To measure and tell learners have achieved that outcome or not, and what percentage of learners have achieved that outcome. Yes?
Yes.
Excellent. Anything else which
Yes,
anyone
ma'am.
wants to add? Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. In the chat box, Sarita K. Nair has written to measure whether outcome is achieved or not.
Yep. And this, as we have learned, is something we are looking at in a very specific way.
Shrikant Varma has written to check whether the objective is achieved.
Yep. Same thing, if the outcome has been achieved or the objective has been achieved or not. Okay.
Smita Joseph writes, it helps to know whether the designed outcomes are attained by students.
Okay. So I heard two words. It helps us to understand if the outcome has been achieved or not, and to know. And I'm pretty sure Dr. Prasad would have highlighted in his session that when we talk about outcomes, it's better if we avoid understand and know, because we cannot really measure understand and know. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Dr. Mary Sapna and Rekha S have also said the same thing to measure whether all outcomes are achieved.
Yeah.
Sabita MM writes to know whether the learners achieve the learning objectives.
Exactly. So that's pretty much what we are talking in outcome-based education, that our assessment or the questions which we ask should be in alignment with what we set our outcome, which was at the start of the course or the program. And those questions should tell us whether the learner has achieved that outcome or not, as well as what percentage of learners in my class have achieved that outcome. With that, I think to a larger extent, everyone, your answers were pretty much on spot. And this is exactly what we discussed yesterday, that everything has to be in alignment, and hence assessment plays a very important role in our outcome-based education. Thing. Now, all of you are conducting assessment in your course. What I would like you to tell me now, and few of you might reply that, it's all same across different subjects or various universities, etc. But still, for my understanding, as well as for me to know what is happening at your institute level, I would ask you to take a couple of minutes and tell me, in your course, which you will be teaching next semester whenever the college reopens, or something which you have already taken in the last semester, tell me what is your assessment plan for that course. Once again, I will give you a couple of minutes before we start taking your response. Okay, do we have any response?
Not yet, ma'am.
Okay. I hope the question is clear. If not, please feel free to ask me. And if you think it's too much to type, please unmute or raise your hand and the moderator will unmute you and you can speak and let me know what your assessment plan is.
Ma'am, Sarita K. Nair has written, the course is programming in C++. The assessment plan is students will be asked to write programs on their own after training is provided.
Okay. Is it like an internal assessment or external? What's the marks? How long is it, etc.?
Sarita, could you unmute yourself and clarify?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Sarita. I plan to do this assignment because internal assessments are extra.
Sorry, I'm not able to hear clearly. Say that again.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible now.
I'm planning it as an assignment because there are other internal examinations. So this will be done as an assignment.
Okay, so this is just a part of assignment. What I would like you to tell me in assessment plan, I mean, for the entire semester in this particular course, which you said as C++, how do you assess your students? What are the different exams or tests? What are the weightage?
For the internal examination, that is with a question paper, which is already set by the institution. So our role actually comes only in this giving assignments, unless we have some option to change the internal examination plan. So the questions, we also can set questions in the internal examination for writing programs, but that doesn't actually give the students much opportunity to learn the programming. So I think giving an assignment and giving them proper training will teach them much better.
Okay, I agree with you, but at the same time, what is the weightage of internal exams and what type of assessment is given by your college? Is it like short question, multiple choice? What's the weightage of the internal?
I think around 20%.
20%?
Yeah.
Okay, and how often does that internal happen? Do you have 3 internal, 4?
Two internal examinations.
Okay, 2 internal and 1 external exam?
Yes.
And external is 80%?
Yeah.
Anything else? And so in this assignment which you will give, what weightage will this have?
This is part of the internal assessment, and out of the total, total I think it is total 10. It's only around 2.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Hopefully my discussion with this particular ma'am helped you in what I am looking for. If anyone who has any different way in the way they assess their particular course because of the college internal weightage or anything being different, feel free to let me know.
Ma'am, Anil George writes online assessment using available tools in Moodle.
Okay. Is that a part of your internal assessments?
Anil George, could you unmute and clarify?
Okay.
Ma'am, he's not responding. There's someone else. Sarita PK writes, subject is investment management, selecting the appropriate investment plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's all she's written over there. Should I ask her to clarify?
Tell me this, participants are from various colleges, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And they all come under one university or different universities?
Different universities, ma'am.
Okay, so I did gather that one particular one is they do 2 internal, 1 external, 20%, 80%. And is there any difference from different to any other institute or college? And if somebody could share that, I would be happy to take that as well.
Okay, the 20%, 80% weightage is for MG University. May I
Okay.
request teachers from other universities to give their views?
So just for participants to know, when you start a course or a semester and you are planning, there is a lot of focus on how do we plan our lectures, what are we going to teach, how are we going to deliver a particular content, etc. What I'm asking you to think here is assessment requires that same amount of planning in terms of what you want to assess, how are you going to assess, what is the marks, how long this assessment is going to be, etc. And hence I'm asking this question, that do you have the plan before you start the next semester? And if yes, and if you could share, that would be great.
Ma'am, it's the same in Kerala University and Calicut University. So all the universities here in
Universities are
Kerala have
same.
the
Okay.
same.
All right, so in that case, I will move forward, and I have got another question for you now, which is now what you have written and told me that this is your assessment plan. I want you to look at it and tell me which one is assessment and which one is evaluation. Are both of these terms same or different? If it is different, then tell me what is the difference between assessment and evaluation? And also in your assessment plan, what is formative assessment and what is summative assessment? For this, I will give you 2 minutes. Kindly type your response because there are a couple of questions here. And what I'm trying to get here is to ensure everybody has got the terminologies and their understanding of these terms clear before we move forward with the entire assessment session.
Ma'am, Sina K.
Yes.
Thomas writes, internal exams are formative and external exam is summative.
Okay. Internal is formative, external is summative. And any difference or between assessment and evaluation?
Sina, would you like to unmute yourself and clarify?
That's okay. If anyone else has any response, that's fine too.
Gopika has written assessment is a continuous process while evaluation is the final product.
Assessment is a continuous process and evaluation is the final product. Okay.
Dr. K. Manjusha has written evaluation usually is mark based, whereas
Yes.
assessment is not necessarily mark based.
Okay.
Dr. Preeti Nair has written assessment helps to understand the level of performance, whereas evaluation degree to which learning outcomes are achieved. Learning objectives.
Okay. Okay.
Dr. Biju Thomas writes, assessment is feedback from the student to the instructor about the students.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what I will do is, feel free to stop me based on what I have to share. And
Ma'am, there's one more. Srikant Varma writes, summative is based on the outcome, formative is based on the development of the student over time.
Okay. Okay, thank you all for sharing your response. My slides are not changing, okay. So what I wanted, or let me stick here first. So let's do assessment and evaluation. So if you look into literature, everything which we do in our higher education, whether we call it test or we call it exam or we call it evaluation, it all comes under a broader umbrella or the bigger terminology called assessment. Within assessment, we have two types, which is formative assessment and summative assessment. So for now, let's stick to formative and summative. And what that means is the term formative comes from when the learning is being formed. And hence few of you mentioned that formative assessment is internal assessment. So any assessment which we do during a semester or during a course or during a program, we do it so that the assessment will help or improve students' learning, and hence it will help or form the learning, and hence it's called formative assessment. Now, the external exam or the end of semester exam or anything which we conduct at the end of a program, we call it summative assessment, because that is summative assessment is you are summing up at the end and telling a student how much of learning has happened. So these two are the main categories within assessment, formative and summative. Now, every time, and one participant did mention this, every time when you put a score or a marks or a grade to any of this assessment, you can also call it evaluation. So quantifying it, putting it through a grade system or a score or a marks, we then use the term evaluation. But throughout in this talk today, morning one as well as afternoon, you will see I'm using the word assessment. Now, all of you, I'm sure, would be familiar with this process where students give feedback about your teaching. Now, that is also a part of the assessment where your teaching is being assessed. And what you see on this slide is all the activities undertaken by teachers, their students, students doing self-assessment or teachers doing self-assessment, teacher giving feedback to a student or student giving feedback to teacher. All of this comes under the broader umbrella of assessment. And the reason we call all of this under this bigger umbrella of assessment, because based on those feedback, you can intervene and modify your teaching learning strategy. Just to give you an example, If you give a feedback to your student based on how they have scored in a particular assignment or a particular exam, student can then make changes next time to improve. Same thing when students give you feedback about your teaching, you can improvise and make changes for the next semester when you are doing that course once again. So instructional intervention designed to increase learning, but not just monitor. And I will elaborate on this as we move forward in this session. Giving just marks and score is not helpful because that is only monitoring. What is really a robust mechanism is how detailed your feedback is, how detailed feedback you can provide to students on every criteria and every aspect. The more detail we provide, the students get better or they improve their learning. So the question is, why do we assess? We assess to measure student learning, and all of you mentioned this at the start. We also do to assign grades, compare students, at different level. And also it's a requirement of the professional accreditation body. None of you would be able to graduate students at your college or courses if you do not have a good assessment plan. It's of course to improve the quality of our teaching, which means based on what students are scoring in your class, if more than 50% of your students have failed, then that's a feedback to us that there is something not going right and we need to modify our teaching strategy or the way we are assessing, etc. So in all of this, it also improves and the quality of teaching. So it's not just restricted to students. Now, what I spoke earlier, the formative assessment is what I'm going to spend more time on, because one of your participants mentioned that for the course C++, she's also giving assignment because that's when really they get to learn more. Now, this is something which I think is really a good way for you as a teacher in terms of how you can improve all of these internal or so-called formative assessment, because there you have this freedom to assess students and provide them feedback. When it comes to the summative assessment, as you would always notice, always has a marks or a score or a grade attached to it. It happens at the end of the semester. And one example which you gave, that internal is 20% and external is 80%, that tells you the external or the summative assessment is always with the higher weightage or the higher marks. Hence, summative assessment has its own role and very important role to play. But if you look into literature, because it always comes with a marks or a score, you will often see the word evaluation being used for summative assessment because you quantify. Formative assessment may or may not come with the score, and it totally depends on various college, institute, or also it will vary based on you as a teacher, whether you want to attach a marks or a score or you just want to assess. I'm going to take a little pause here and see if anyone has any question at this point before I move forward. No?
Ma'am, there's nothing in the chat box.
All right. So even if the question comes in your mind later on, if you think there's something not clear, please feel free to ask. Now, what I want you to do is, yesterday we did try this as the last part when we were about to finish the session. But once again, I will ask you to write one course learning outcome from your course at the level of analyze, evaluate, and create, and design one formative assessment task which you can use to assess this course learning outcome. And I will give you a couple of minutes. And once again, this is something which is a bit more elaborate. So the person who wants to share their thought, if you could unmute yourself, that will be great. Anyone who would like to share something which you have been doing in your course?
Hello, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
See here for a topic in disaster management. Disaster management, teaching that topic disaster management, that is one part of the environmental biology.
Yeah.
Here the now we are given, the students will be given the topic so that they can collect the data from their locality in Kerala or India or global.
Okay.
And they can collect the data, they can analyze it, they can evaluate, and they can create. That is, create in the sense they can model the disaster risk reduction process and all.
Okay. What I will ask you to tell me, what is your learning outcome, which is at analyze, evaluate, create? If you could, define the learning outcome for me, please.
Actually, the learning outcome is how far the students could follow this disaster management. That is actually the significant environmental scenario, so that they can contribute their ideas on how to reduce.
Okay. So what is the action verb here? Follow?
Pardon me?
So I'm trying to just see what do you really want students to do, and I think I know what you want them to do in terms of do the disaster management where they can follow and come up with the what do you call strategic plan how to
Yes.
address it, right?
Yes. How
So
to they can model the strategic plans to reduce the disaster risk reduction and all. And how
yes.
effective it is, in that sense, we can judge them how far they understood or
Okay.
how far this learning objectives achieved, isn't it?
Yes. So I would rephrase that and say that the learning outcome is students should be able to create a strategic plan to minimize the what do you call the damage with any particular disaster, right? I'm
Yes,
not being
yes.
specific here. So then
Okay.
you are really asking them to, based if it's an earthquake which has happened, how are they going to address it? What would be the strategic plan,
Yes,
immediate plan, long-term plan, etc. Right?
yes, yes.
Now, when you give this as a learning outcome, what assessment are you going? Are you asking them to send you the report, or how is it going to be?
Actually, if it is given as a project topic, or I will collect the data.
Yeah.
What they actually the data collected by them, that will be evaluated by me,
Mm-hmm.
and their effectiveness I will calculate in the form of short test or quiz like that.
Okay.
That is
So you are asking them to do project which involves data collection. You're also doing a little test to see
yes,
their understanding. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Now, when they give you data collection based on whatever they have surveyed and what they have gone, how do you give them feedback? The reason I'm asking is because my question is it's formative assessment. Formative assessments means we need to have a very detailed feedback to give it to our students.
Okay.
So
So
that, yeah.
before giving them the topic for the survey or as a topic of actually I will be and I will give them the what are the steps to be followed to
Okay.
collect the data.
Okay.
So for that, they have to go through several literatures. They can collect the data from the actual happenings around. Like that, they will collect, and
Yeah.
that will be summarized and discussed.
Okay.
So
How many
that
students do you have in your
we
classroom?
have now an average of 35.
All right. So when what your plan sounds good, my only point here is that assessment for all 35 student, or the feedback rather what we are giving, has to be consistent for all 35 students. And I'll give you one example, not just to you but to everyone.
Hello.
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 Yes.
I'm audible.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Dr. Animal K.
Hi.
Hi, ma'am. The next semester, I will take a macroeconomics paper.
Okay.
So I want to first understanding the moral implications of economic issues.
Okay, that's your learning outcome.
This is my learning outcomes. And then
Okay.
for understanding the implication of economic issues, I will demonstrate the issues of major economic issues. Then I use of applied analytical skills through project works and term purpose. Then last I understanding of political economy, and the students should do project works and research papers related to this area.
Okay.
And at the end of the semester, I will collect the outcome measures through pre and post test.
Okay.
In our department, we'll always conduct internal examination. From this, we can understand the weak areas of our students, and
Okay.
we issue additional materials to them,
Mm-hmm.
and also students' portfolios.
Okay.
Through students will work on projects at the end of the semester,
Yep.
and they also write exams.
Okay.
And these papers will be evaluated by the department faculty in an annual meeting to assess the achievement of the goals through these papers.
Yep.
And we also conduct alumni survey and PTA.
Okay.
And through this alumni or a PTA survey, we know more about the efficiency of the economics program and the extent to which they use the knowledge gained from their degree. This is
Okay.
my outcome measure.
All right. So what I gathered is in your assessment, you have described about the internal, external, student feedback, survey, etc. All of it as part of assessing that particular outcome, right?
Tool for measuring outcome.
Yes. So that's pretty much what we are looking at, where you or any course outcome, if we could incorporate various ways of assessing rather than just testing on a set of questions. That's the first thing.
Okay.
One feedback I do have is I would ask you to rephrase your outcome and not use the word understanding, because as we mentioned and Dr. Prasad would have stressed, if we could define the outcome without understanding and understand or to know, because that's something it's hard to measure.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
So if
ma'am.
you are able to, and that will help you designing your assessment as well as your content based on the cognitive level of thinking what you want them to be thinking. Understand will be at describe level, but what you are actually asking them to do is at much higher level through projects and surveys, etc.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So what
Okay,
you
thank
said, so thank you, thanks for sharing, and I would like all participants to hopefully you heard what ma'am had to say, that her assessment plan was very elaborate throughout the semester, and even the previous ma'am, what she explained was there was a project topic, she collected data, she provided feedback, she also conducted tests, and these are ways of assessing a particular outcome. And I would ask you not to restrict just to give question papers with short answers or MCQ, but make it a more detailed assessment plan. What I'm going to share here is, when you talk about these project assignments, and especially with all of the formative assessment, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are already doing it, if you're doing it as a group activity, I would ask you to attach, if 3 or 4 members are working together in the project or survey or assignment, put some peer assessment marks, which means that if there are 4 members in a group, 3 members, all of them are evaluating each other in terms of their contribution, because many times there are 2 people who are doing all the work, rest 2 of them just drag along and they end up getting the marks. So ask member A to tell how B, C, D have contributed, and they are going to give score to each other. Also, given the fact that, you know, these are young students, many times, even though they have not contributed, but they think they're my best friends, they will end up giving marks, or the other way around. Make sure the marks which you are allocating for this is not more than 2 to 5%. Another thing which is a very strong formative assessment aspect is add student reflection in all of these of your assessments. So if they're going to do a project or survey which goes on for 2 to 3 months, ask students to reflect and write a short paragraph. What did I learn? What were my challenges? Because only when they start thinking about what did I learn, what did I not learn, etc., they are taking more ownership of their own learning. Now, when we do group activities, an informative assessment, which is all your internal assessment, I would encourage you to incorporate a lot of formative activities, group activities in these assessment, because that process becomes very enjoyable, and peer-to-peer learning, as backed by research, shows that that learning is a very strong way to learn among student groups. And also, even though you have a student feedback mechanism where students give feedback about your teaching at the end of the semester, I would encourage you to take informal feedback from students. Every month, if possible, ask your students what's going well, what is not going well in the course, because when you do it on monthly basis, you can make changes based on how the course is going, rather than waiting till the end of the semester, because after that students will go to some other course and you can make changes, but that will not benefit that particular group of students. Hence, it's a very important strategy in terms of formative assessment to get regular feedback from your students. Moving forward, and I will take a break after this to take your question. Formative assessment, as I said, is not just limited to the exams and stuff. At times it can come without any marks or score. Anything which you are doing to improve learning or which will help to form student learning is formative assessment. So homeworks which you give doesn't come with any marks, but those are still formative assessment. When you look at students, when you're giving a lecture, and this is something very hard for me to gauge, or in an online platform, in a physical classroom, when you look at your students or participants' expression, you can tell that, you know, whether they are getting what you're trying to say, or they look confused, or they are paying attention, etc. or not. These are again a part of feedback. I get indirect feedback looking at my audience. Reflections, I already mentioned. Please start adding student reflection in all of your assessment wherever possible. Student feedback collected periodically will really help you improve your own teaching. And there is something called as team-based learning, but I will talk about it in the post-lunch session. At this point, again, I will take a break and see if you have any questions for me before I move forward.
Ma'am, there were some responses to your course learning outcome and assessment.
Sure.
Dr. Preeti Nair writes, for a course in poetry, the course learning outcome would be to analyze different types of poetry, and the assessment would be differentiate between an ode and a sonnet.
Differentiate between?
An ode and a sonnet.
Okay. Now, very happy to hear somebody talking about poetry. The only issue is my poetry and literature is not that great, but yeah, I'm happy to address this. Please go ahead if there is anything else.
Rajesh E. writes a course for Python programming. The course learning outcome would be to make them fit for industry standards, and the formative assessment would be through code gigs.
Okay, so I will go back, to the ma'am who mentioned about poetry. What would you do in that assessment? How do you assess them? How do you give feedback? That is something which you really need to plan so that all your 30, 40, whatever number of students, they all get a consistent feedback from you. So if you have something which you can share, that will be great. And if you could unmute as well.
Preeti ma'am.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Very feeble. Could you increase your audio? Hello? Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm not able to hear Preeti ma'am.
Maybe some connection error, ma'am. Can we move on to the next question? In between, she'll
Sure.
join us.
Sure, sure. So the next person was from talking about Python, right?
Yes.
Okay. If we could get his response in terms of how he would give the feedback to students.
Rajesh, could you unmute yourself?
Hello.
Yes, hi.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, actually, my course plan, course learning outcome is I have to make my students fit for the industry for Python programming. For that purpose, they have to study well the different areas of Python programming. For that purpose, I have to understand the code is or not. For that purpose, I will conduct code games because games is always enjoyable for students. That's why I'm preparing games. Then after the entire work, we can on summative measure we can do a project work.
Okay. Do we have any other response, ma'am?
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
There is from Manju T. She says the subject is solid state physics. The course learning outcome, students will be able to analyze the properties of a material and to modify the properties to make them suitable for a given application. The formative assessment would be to give exercises to the students to estimate an unknown property from known characteristics of a material.
Okay, okay. So here what I'm also gathering that when you're writing course outcome, and not just to this particular person but to everyone, I would encourage you to do a little bit more practice in choosing the action verb from that list which you can find online, so that the action verbs clearly describes the level at which you're thinking, and it should be measurable. Because if the action verb which you're defining in your outcome is not measurable, then conducting an assessment will be a challenge. Okay. Moving forward, I'm to be honest, if you have any questions regarding the formative evaluation and giving feedback, feel free to ask me at this point. Yep.
Just
Kindly, ma'am, you are
the
not
course
audible.
is to investigate stress.
Sorry, the audio is not clear.
Richa, ma'am, we have some more messages in the chat box related to the same assessment.
Okay. I think what we'll do is we'll move forward, and if anybody has any question, we will address that.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So if you think about the type of assessment which you do or anyone does in a typical higher education, it ranges anywhere from multiple choice questions, exams that can be subjective or objective type questions, seminars, viva, projects, individual, it could be, or a group activity, assignments, group discussion, debates. There would be few other things which you can add to the list, but these are the most common ways we assess our students during a semester long program. Now, if you think about it, what we are trying to achieve here is not that I'm asking you to change any of this. What I'm asking you to do is how to make all of these bit more robust so that student really not just get the marks here, but get a detailed feedback about their learning. And hence the assessment here is called formative because you're trying to improve or form their learning. Now, the multiple choice question, if you give suppose 10 questions and you tell the student at the end that you have scored 7 or 8, to a larger extent, they only know that, yes, I got this much marks, but where did I go wrong? Why was my thought process different? Why did I not do that question correct? And many times by fluke or guesswork also, they manage to get good marks. That is something we need to change. And again, as I mentioned, the team-based learning is one way to address and give detailed feedback even to multiple choice question. And this is something I will address in the afternoon session. Once again, if your exam is subjective, which means there are short questions or there are essays, projects, etc., all of these subjective assessment, the best way to mark them is by using and designing rubrics, where even if you are the examiner 1 or there is an examiner 2, examiner 3, each one of you can use the same rubrics which has clear criteria to evaluate your students, and your evaluation will be consistent for all the students. Now, one example I can give you is when students submit some assignment, suppose you have 40 students or 16 in few scenarios, we as a teacher, when we start marking looking at the assignment, the first 5 or 10, if we are marking early in the morning, we are usually very fresh and we tend to write a lot of detailed feedback. This is right, this is wrong, this is what you should do, etc., etc. As we go ahead, by the time we reach 30th, we are tired or we have crossed the deadline, we are under pressure to submit it back to the students, and all we end up doing is giving marks rather than giving detailed feedback. Now, that is unfortunate for students who are coming as the ones who are being marked at the end, because that's not fair. They need equal amount of feedback and same amount of detailed feedback from us. Now, that is our problem and we need to rectify that. And hence, those sort of assessment needs to be marked in a more objective way, because when it comes to multiple choice question, you know, whether examiner 1 marks or examiner 2, it's always right and wrong, match the following or fill in the blanks. There is not much room for subjective bias. But when it comes to case report, portfolios, assignments, project, each one of us, we teachers, are marking based on our own subjectivity. Same question paper, or rather same assignment, if it is marked by me and it goes to some other person in the same field, he or she will mark differently. Now, that is not a very good way of assessing students, especially when we are going towards outcome-based education and we are trying to define the competency by telling this is the minimum outcome which we need our graduates to achieve before they can graduate. And hence, in all of this, which you see it in red, is I have put rubrics, 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 and we are going to do this once again in the afternoon. And few of you might be already doing it, and I will be very happy to share here what you have to share. The other thing you see in all of this is I have added peer assessment, because every time it's a group activity, ask them to assess each other. Peer learning is very important mechanism in terms of learning. Ask students to do reflection. If you're giving assignment, do the same thing, peer assessment, reflection. And this way, that same assessment task which you were doing earlier becomes much more robust with lot of feedback and lot of other aspects attached to it, so that student can really improve their learning. With this, again, I will take a pause and see if anyone has any questions to ask.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Shrikant Varma asks, what do you say about an assessment being carried out before the classes actually start, and plan the classes accordingly to get a better learning outcome?
Yes, absolutely. That we call is that pre-assessment or testing on the prerequisite knowledge. I would encourage all of you that when the semester starts and you have given the prerequisite knowledge, do a 10 or 20 question a short test before the semester starts. You as a teacher, you will get a fair idea what level students are coming in, and then you can gauge your lecture material or the content based on the level what student has come with. And if you think the students are not they do not have the required prerequisite knowledge, you can guide them to resources and tell them, look, before we start this semester, you should be knowing this, and looks like 50% of the class do not know this. Hence, I would encourage you to, highly encourage all faculty members to use this approach. Anyone else?
Yes, ma'am.
Finally, one more question, sir.
Yeah.
Dr. Biju Thomas is asking, how do we design an experiment to assess the effectiveness of a vaccine? In a clinical trial, patients of a heterogeneous group are to be administered the vaccine.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm guessing this is a hypothetical scenario you are telling. You will not be allowed to test a vaccine and use that as a test, right? Dr. Thomas?
Hello,
Dr. Biju Thomas?
Hello?
Yes, hi.
This is a branch of studies where we have to carry out to design experiments so that various treatments are to be applied scientifically to get quality data. So we are dealing with a heterogeneous group. So how do we apply certain medicines or vaccines to various patients so that we get good quality data? So that is the learning outcome. How do we carry out an experiment properly?
Okay. So the best way to do this would be give it as like a project activity, and students should be working in groups where they come up with the good literature survey. They come up with the current available vaccines. They also come up with what aspect is indications, contraindications, current regulatory bodies. So all of these criteria should be given to them before they go ahead with the project. So they know then how they are going to look at different aspects. Then this particular project should be given as a group activity, and you could, I mean, this sounds like a pretty long one, so I would say it will take nothing less than 3 months or so for them to prepare this. You could have a feedback mechanism at different stages where you're breaking that when they do literature review, you give them clear feedback, what has worked, what has not worked, where do they need to go and search more before they can come up with the clear methodology, regulatory bodies. And so in short, you break this feedback mechanism on a fortnightly or monthly basis rather than leaving it all to the end. Add peer assessment because it's going to be group activity. And then you make a final presentation, could be a seminar sort of way where they are presenting it and they have questions from the audience to address and answer.
Okay, thank you.
So this is something I would do it. But the key point here is, for any long-term project, give them clear criteria. And I will talk about it in the afternoon when we talk about rubrics. So when it comes to, for example, in your context about vaccine, regulation, what will work, indication, contraindication, age groups, etc., they really need to know all these criteria beforehand so that they can go and look for information, because students otherwise they are lost and they will be spending all their time in a totally different area which is not even required.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, madam.
Yeah. So this is something each one, I mean, luckily this question was something clinical, which is more I could relate to. But for anyone else in your own context, it could be poetry, history. The point here is assessment needs to be transparent. Transparent doesn't mean you have to give question, but what you are expecting from your students, your criteria needs to be shared with students beforehand. The more transparent the system is, the students will have better idea in terms of what they should be working on to achieve that particular outcome. Okay?
Okay. Ma'am, Dr. K. Manjusha is asking, could you elaborate on reflections journals?
Yes. So reflection is a very important task in terms of many times students or even adults, if you see, we don't know a lot of times why something is not working. So you keep giving students, you know, you are only getting pass mark, you need to work hard. But students just keep going through textbooks and textbooks and they have no idea why they are not able to achieve their goals. In this thing, reflection really works where you ask them, even if they have come to a lab or they are going to do a project, ask them this question: what did you learn? What did you not learn? They are somehow very unaware of this process, and this is something which will not happen one day, but if they maintain a continuous journal on a weekly basis or fortnightly basis where they are accounting this week, these are the topics I learned, these are the topics I did not learn because this was very new for me, or I did not have the prerequisite knowledge, etc., then they will actually realize why is it not working, and then they can do something about it. And hence that's how I would recommend you to use or encourage your students to do a reflective journal.
Okay. Dr. Sheenaja is requesting, will you please detail rubrics?
Yes, afternoon session is all about rubrics and team-based learning. So I would ask you to come back post lunch and we will talk about all of that then.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
All right. So now, because I spoke about that their assessment has to be a transparent process, and I will tell you with this particular example, sorry, I'll just move forward. Okay, before we go there, we did not spend time on what is summative assessment. The reason I'm not spending too much time on this because, as you said, this is an external examination. There is not much in your control, but at the same time, we also need to realize that assessment of learning is what we refer as summative, and assessment for learning is your formative assessment. So we spoke all about how to improve formative assessment. Now, few of you, I would imagine, would be involved in the end of semester exam. Important thing to realize is, once again, the questions which you provide or you set for summative assessment has to be in alignment with your learning outcome, which means if you designed your course learning outcome at apply, analyze level, but if all your questions are knowledge, recall, describe, define, match the following, then you are testing them at very low level. And then there is this misalignment which should not happen, because then your outcomes will not be the clear reflection of what you want your students to achieve. Hence, summative assessment becomes very important, and as all of you mentioned, summative assessment is usually of higher weightage. It could be 70% or 80% in that particular course. Hence, these exams are very important one, and hence, if you read on the second point here, it says, good summative assessment must be demonstrably reliable, valid, and free of bias. Free of bias means if you are a teacher in one particular college, your end of semester exam for that particular subject should be in such a way that even if that question paper is given to another institute in different state, that should be valid to a larger extent. It should not be based on your subjectivity or your particular context, because Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Physics or Literature, we want the same outcome to a larger extent from every college and institute. Hence, a good summative assessment becomes very, very important. Some assessment could be anything, final exams in third year and fourth year, if you could be a project, portfolios. Now, when you think that if project or assignment is what is going to comprise the final summative assessment, I would also ask you to break it into different formative aspect, like the example which we just shared with Dr. Biju Thomas regarding a project which will go on for 3 to 6 months. In between, if you keep giving them feedback, then that is a combination of formative as well as summative assessment. And that is the best way to conduct any assessment, if you can combine both aspects, because that's pretty much what would help students to improve their learning, despite that being the final marks will come at the end of the semester. Now, before I go into this, rather I should go back. Could any of you tell me if you have been evaluated on your teaching by your peer members or your head of the department, etc. at your college? Yes or no would do. Anyone?
Not yet. No.
Sorry? No?
Smita
Maybe I
Joseph
can.
says no, ma'am.
Okay, I can also ask the moderator, is it
No.
something which is commonly practiced where teachers get evaluated in their classroom by HODs or their peer members?
Yes, we take feedback once in a while from students.
Yep, but not from your HODs or peer
Yes,
members?
our HODs in some departments do it.
They come and sit in your classroom?
No, they take feedback from students about teachers.
But they don't sit in your classroom?
No, no.
Okay.
It's in our college. I don't know about other colleges.
Okay, that's fine. If anyone has anything, they can share it on the chat box. But I'll keep going and I'll ask you, if that is something which we introduce, will you be happy with that process or not?
I will be happy, personally speaking.
Okay, so just to let everyone know, because you are talking about various accreditation and how things are changing, this is something quite commonly practiced in Western universities. And many times a lot of people don't like it at the start, but assessment is not just limited to assessing students. Assessment is about our teaching as well. And if we think about assessment of our teaching, think about it, very few people undergo a proper teacher's training apart from B.Ed courses, etc., before they take up this job. Now, just because we have had very good marks in our undergraduate, did PhD, published papers, that then does not give me the right skills to become a great teacher. But unfortunately, that's how we all got hired, and we have to learn on the job. Currently, what we are doing as a faculty development program, these are something which has been introduced recently in our country, and faculty get these training about teaching learning in short duration. Now, how do we improve our teaching? We have spoken all about students, assessing them. Now, I'll give you one hypothetical example here, and the example here is, assume that there is a TLC at your institute has been asked to evaluate your skills at teaching. Doing so, a TLC member sits through your lectures. TLC members review your lesson. TLC member actually come to you 1 week in advance and have a discussion with you saying, okay, what are you going to teach? What is your course learning outcome? How are you going to conduct the class? Is it going to be lecture type or group learning, etc.? How are you going to get feedback? Everything they discuss with you 1 week in advance. You tell them, okay, next Monday I'm going to take class between 9 to 10 a.m. And then the TLC member comes, sits in your class with all the criteria written. They look at how you conduct the class. They also take feedback from students, and then by processing all of this observation, student feedback, they give you the score. Now, my question to you would be, what would be your reaction to this? I would ask you to tell me what are the positive aspects of this method. Are you okay with this method as a faculty member? And where do you think this method could be improved, the way your teaching has been assessed? I will give you a minute or two before I start taking response.
Dr. Sheenaja says, will be happy, it will bring more improvement.
Okay. But what do you think about this process that the person came 1 week in advance, had all discussion with you, and then decided to come and sit in your class? And any thoughts on giving you a marks of 76? Would you have any more question for that TLC member, or you are okay with that?
"76 is a good mark, and we can improve
Yes.
for next time."
And how do you think, what aspects do you need to improve?
Ma'am, there's a question. Dr. K. Manjusha is asking, will the TLC member be a faculty of the same subject?
It's hypothetical, so yes, they will be from your same subject. I would also ask participants to think, do you think it would have been better if that assessment of your teaching was done in a surprise manner?
Yes.
And why is that?
Gopika, can you explain your answer?
Yes, ma'am. Because otherwise we would be more prepared. If it is very casual, then this is a normal thing we'll be doing in our routine day, no? So if it is of a surprise nature, then the result will be more reliable, I hope. And if I am given a 76 grade, I think I will ask for why I am graded so, where I can make improvement, and then mold myself according to the changes suggested by the TLC team. And I would also suggest the person should be of the same discipline, so that the method used by me will be more that is substantiating for him.
Okay, thanks for sharing that thought, Gopika. When you say you will be more prepared, now preparation is good news or bad news?
A person need to be prepared. I mean, as a teacher, we need to be prepared every time, no? So if we are known that, or we are informed that the person is going to come in the next week and sit in my class, I would be acting as if I'm preparing.
I know what you're saying. All of us, if we know, right, when the traffic police guy is there, we will be extra cautious of not crossing the red signal. But if nobody is around, we are like, okay, let me just cross the signal. This is a human nature.
Yes.
Now, the reason I say preparedness is good, because think about it. If you're going for Olympic, that 4 years, what you practice, you actually want to know exactly what is going to happen on the final day. The more clarity you have, the better you practice. The better you practice, the better you perform. Now, a bad student could be at this level and good student could be at this level. And hope everybody is able to see my video. But practice will improve that level for everyone. So think about when you go for a job interview or so, if you didn't know and job interview happens on a surprise interview, none of us would like it because you have not got enough chance to prepare. And as a teacher, if you know or you would like to know from TLC members what all criteria I am going to be assessed on. Am I going to be assessed on the subject matter? Am I going to be assessed on my communication skills? Am I going to be assessed on how I engage my students? Am I going to be assessed on the quality of PowerPoint slides? Am I going to be assessed on how active students are in my class? All this become criteria. If the same criteria I shared with you in advance, you would know that, okay, Richa is going to mark me on this, you will prepare on all of this, correct?
Yes.
And the more that, this is what I referred as transparency. Students also need, when we give them a project topic or title, we only give them the topic and title. Any faculty member who gives them detailed criteria, the more the criteria, the more what you expect, students will work in that direction. And hence, when I will then give you 76 marks, if I start dividing that marks in all of these criteria, it will give you more feedback and more clear feedback. Okay, she scored me less because my communication was not good, or she scored me more because my PowerPoint slides were really well. I engaged the students really well. So then you know exactly which criteria you need to improve, rather than being vague about it. And this is not true just for us, but it's also true for our students. Many times we blame the students that they are not working well or they are not studying enough, but the problem is they are at loss. They don't know which criteria they need to work, which area they need to work, how should they work. And that doesn't mean you have to give them the question paper. You have to give them the criteria and your expectations, what you want them to achieve. The more you give them those detailed information, the better they perform. So in terms of positive aspect, even though I did not give you criteria, I gave you a marks, and giving marks still helps me to know that, okay, it was not 56, it was 76, so I'm above average, I need to improve. The other good thing about this assessment was that the members discussed that the TLC members not just gave marks based on their own observation, but they take student feedback as well. Because if students did not learn anything from your class, whatever marks I give it to you doesn't make any sense. Also, it was a continuous process where it was not a surprise visit, but it was 1 week in advance. And if this can be done 2 or 3 times in the semester, all of us would improve our own teaching style, because we will get feedback from our own peer who are different from students. Because student feedback, yes, it is important, but many times we also realize students are a bit immature. They are very judgmental on a lot of other things which is not directly related to learning. So important feedback would be from our peer members or HOD who can sit in our classroom and give us the feedback on our own teaching style. Teacher comes with better preparation, and I already elaborated on that, that when you do that, it really helps you. Preparation is always a good news. The more we prepare, the better we perform. And our scores, and because I am assessing you as a teacher, you are an adult, I should have open discussion with you, whether you agree with what I gave you the score or criteria, which area you think you did well, but it does not match with my score, because then we can have a healthy, transparent discussion. Now with students, many times you would notice when we give them less marks, a lot of students come back to us that, ma'am or sir, we have given me less mark, and we tend to be a bit dismissive. I would encourage you, all of you, to sit down with the student and see why they are asking for that extra marks, because many times they think they are on the right track, or they are actually on the right track and we are not getting that point. The reason I'm discussing all of this, the more inclusive we are with students, the more we treat them as an adult and have these open conversation, we will get more out of them in this teaching learning process. The problem with this process was, even though I gave you 76, there was no mention of any of those criteria. The criteria about PPT, communication, student engagement is something which should have been given to you in advance and tell you the breakups of each of these criteria, which aspect you did well, which you did not, strength and weakness, because then you would improve better. Now, before we close this session, I will just give you a practical example that all of you undergoes performance review for your promotions at the university, right? And the criteria are given to you on what your promotions will depend based on your teaching, student feedback, research output, conference presentation within India, outside India, writing papers, getting grants, administrative, etc. Now, think about it. If all these criteria were not given to you in the first year of your job, but after 2 years you are told, sorry, you did not do this, hence you're not getting promoted. How do you feel about it? You feel that, okay, why was this not told to me 2 years in advance? Because if I knew on what assessment criteria my promotions is dependent on, I would work based on that. That is exactly what a student needs. They need clear criteria, clear transparency. What do we expect out of them? The more detail we provide, the better they will be in working towards it. So with this, I would say be open to assessment of your own teaching. If you cannot find HOD, ask your colleagues or friends to come and sit in your class. Take student feedback more frequently. If you think it's taking too much of your time, I would ask you to create focus group within the student group where they can collect feedback from different students and come and present it to you. Minute card is something I would imagine would have been discussed earlier, but this is something which we often do at TLC is at the end of the session, we ask you to give 1 point which was clear to you and 1 point which was not clear to you. This is something you can do it in your every time you do the class so that before you come to the next lecture or next session, you know what your audience got, what was not clear. You can address it in the first 5 minutes before you move forward. Another aspect, if you want students to do reflective journal, it's also our responsibility to do teacher's reflection where we are reflecting on our own teaching, writing down what is working, what is not working, etc. And with this, I will aim to close this session here before we come back for the next one, and happy to take any questions if you have any.
Ma'am, there is one question.
Yes.
C. Sukesh is asking, would students appreciate surprise test or an informed test? And he continues, does this depend on the subject? Like I had a professor in my MBA class who used to take a random surprise test, and he used to tell that life is a test and it can throw you a lot of surprises. So be prepared every day.
So this is something which definitely happened more commonly in 10 or 15 years ago. And the philosophy of assessment was also more like, okay, I am a professor and a teacher. Let me test and see my students on surprise, seeing how much they know and how much they don't know. Usually they will give such out of context question, rare questions to see whether how many students can answer. Current philosophy of assessment tells you, you can do once in a while, but that's not going to help student learning. Surprise test is only more for the teacher rather than for the student. If you really want your student to improve and work, give them clear criteria, give them on what learning outcomes you're going to assess, and students are going to do better at that. So yes, we agree that life is going to throw different things, but our job here as a teacher is not to just judge them and tell how much they know and not know, but work along with our students, sit with them and see how we can make our assessment more robust to actually improve their learning. And it is well backed by research that the biggest motivation for student learning is assessment, which means if you can tell them that today I'm going to talk a topic which is a Nobel Prize winning topic, but don't worry, this will not be assessed in your exam, students within 5 minutes will lose attention. All they care is what is going to come in exams, how are you going to assess them. If you assess them well, they are ready to work towards it. Hence, assessment becomes a very important. So surprise test, I would discourage. If you still want to do it, do once in a while, but do not add too much marks to it. Do not penalize students for that. Any other questions?
Not yet, ma'am. Let's wait for a minute.
Sure.
Rama Lakshmi has answered for a previous question. She has answered both. Maybe, is Rama Lakshmi here? Hello?
Yes, Manju, I'm here, very much here.
So can you explain your answer, both?
Why I said both is because at a point of time, in all ways, we do need predetermined, like you have to know the parameters by which you're going to be assessed. But at the same time, just so that you keep a check once in a while, at least by your HOD. I'm not talking about by a TLC team. At least your HOD can, or your people who your higher ups can once in a while just come in and have a kind of a surprise assessment. That's all, just as a thing of keeping check. But when you go for a higher, like something like when you go for a summit, just like for the students, you have a formative and a summative. We also should have that kind of assessment, is what I feel. That's all. That's why I meant both.
No, absolutely. I'm totally with you in that. Hence, I said even for students, once in a while, if you have surprise also, it's not going to hurt, but don't make that as your only way to assess them. For teachers, the reason I brought this point because this is going to become something more common and we all should be open to it. The reason being, if we want to assess our students, teaching learning is both about teachers and students, we should also be open to, because assessment is actually for learning and improvement. And that is one key message I want all of you to take back from this session, whether you incorporate other things or not, is hopefully the philosophy of assessment should change in our mind as a faculty member, that we are not here just to monitor whether they are good or bad, but be involved in improving their learning. And doing so, what you said, it'll be really great. And as I said, in Western University, my teaching was always evaluated. And it was a very stringent process, but I think that process really helps as a teacher, because many times we are clueless. We don't know what is working, what's not working.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes, please.
It's now, as you see, the scenario is totally changing in terms of assessment of students. Do you see something as a kind of a change in the type of questions that we would be framing nowadays? Now, since you have a kind of an online, especially when you have descriptive, what would be the level for a small, how would we raise our students' level to that? I mean, what do you see? What's the future there?
So definitely the assessment is becoming more and more, so if your outcome is at analyze, create level, your assessment has to be at that level. Now to do create or analyze level, the question has to be more open-ended in terms of where you give the student not just right or wrong answer, but you are open to see their ability to critically think and be open to evaluate those sort of thought process. Now, if we are thinking only about how do we do this in online resources are expanding in terms of, and next session, I think I will be able to answer this more clearly when I talk about rubrics, how that same rubrics can help us assess students for subjective type of questions in a more objective way, where students also get more detailed feedback. But assessment is something which really needs to change, because that is the biggest motivation for student learning. If you want a particular outcome from students, if you want them to become great scientists, then your assessment has to be where you are able to test their ability to think and create something new. If you're testing them at a very low level and you're expecting them they will become a great thinkers and design new projects, etc., that's not going to work. So assessment is definitely changing, and it will change. And even with your outcome based education, very soon you will see the type of questions which you set to assess your students will also be evaluated to see if it's actually in alignment with the course outcome or the program outcome. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and when we come back, feel free to ask me when I'm discussing rubrics, because there is part of it which will be addressed in that session.
Yes. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Dr. K. Manjusha is repeating her question. Can you please elaborate on reflections journals? I think it was already addressed. Maybe she missed it.
Okay. So reflective journal is just asking students, what did I learn? What did I not learn? Even if you can do it on weekly basis or fortnightly basis, where students are writing that for themselves, it's a good mechanism for students to take responsibility of their learning and realizing why something is not working, why they are not able to get the score or marks. And this is something, if you do it one time, it's not going to help, but it has to be a continuous process. And hence we talk about as a reflective journal. And once again, if you see on the slide, it's not limited to students. As a teacher also, we need to do this reflection.
Ma'am, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Yeah. Ma'am, my question was like, so these, if I'm going to start such an approach, that is keeping a reflections journal or encouraging students to do that, should I ask them to keep, say, a notebook or something where they write this down, and do they share it with me later?
Yes.
Or is it like a group discussion that we would have in a class, maybe after a particular topic is covered? How is it carried out?
So different ways. Don't overdo it. Don't do it for every class. Do it for like 2 weeks or so. Ask them to maintain in a little diary, and then you can have one session where they are discussing, so that you also get to know, and there is a bit of a rapport building happening between you and your students. Other way to do it is when you give them assignments or seminars or projects to do, put a little 2 marks on reflection, where they are writing, what did I learn, what did I not learn, what worked, what did not work, and then you can read it through and give them marks and feedback on that, because then if you attach a little bit of marks, they are a bit more sincere towards it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. It really works for everyone who does lab and stuff, because many times they go to the lab, they are sitting chit-chatting with their friends and coming out, and then when you ask them question, they are like, oh yeah, we took notes from that one, this one. So if you put these sort of mechanism, they are a bit more sincere in all the activities which they are involved with. Okay?
Okay. So I think that's all, ma'am. There's no more question.
Okay, yes, we are at 11:36.
So thank you very much, ma'am. So we will see again at 2 p.m.
2 o'clock. All right.
Yes.
We'll continue
Thank you.
from here itself. It's a continuation of this session. And
Okay.
we'll see you guys then.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you.
See you.
Bye.
soon.
Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, I guess I'm good to go, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. I'll see you guys then. Bye.
See you. ബൈ.
മഞ്ജു മിസ്
യെസ്,
അയച്ചില്ലല്ലോ, ലിങ്ക് അയച്ചിട്ടില്ലല്ലോ.
എന്തിൻ്റെ? റിച്ച മാം ഒരു ലിങ്ക് അയക്കാമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു, വീഡിയോ ഷെയർ ചെയ്യുന്നതിൻ്റെ. നമുക്കൊന്ന് ട്രയൽ നോക്കണ്ടേ? ആ ആ ഒന്ന് റിമൈൻഡ് ചെയ്യാമോ? പോയിട്ടുണ്ടോ? പോയെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നല്ലേ? ആണല്ലേ? ഉണ്ടോ?
അഡ്വാൻസ് നോക്കട്ടെ, ഞാൻ നോക്കട്ടെ.